Welcome back to 7th Grade Mustache. On today's episode, we'll be speaking about evil by any other name. People have often talked about how the church has been influenced or invaded by occult forces. It's one place a lot of people don't think to look when they think of occult influences or occult invasions. But one church in particular is the Roman Catholic Church. And the Roman Catholic Church has had a history of popes that have been corrupt. Now, there is one family that originates in Valencia, Spain, that usurped the papal throne, and that is the Borgias. These people were so corrupt, they made a TV show about them on Showtime. It came out like 6 years ago, called the Borgias. And this family was hella corrupt. Now, a lot of people that are Christians, they know that famous painting of Jesus, and he's looking to the right. It's a portrait of Jesus Christ, and he's looking to the right, and he looks Caucasian. That person that posed for that image is Caesar Borgia. So that Jesus image that everybody has in their living room or have seen in some Christian living room was not Jesus Christ. It was actually Caesar Borgia. So Caesar Borgia was the son of Rodrigo Borgia. Rodrigo Borgia went on to become Pope Alexander VI, but as a young man, he bribed his way to the top and used his position to enrich his friends and family. So he was the head of the Catholic Church and the ruler of the Papal States from August 11th, 1492 until his death in 1503. Go back a little bit. 1492. What happened in 1492 that changed the course of history? Columbus
sailed the world in 1492.
Come on, put that together. All right, so Pope Alexander VI did everything from selling church offices to hiring 50 prostitutes in one night to secure his place as history's dirtiest pope. Now, it is important to realize that the Church of Jesus Christ was founded by his apostles, but was taken over by the Church of Rome and is now what people recognize as Catholicism today. So I'll say that again. After Jesus died, it was his last disciple, one of his last disciples, was it Paul, that created the church of Jesus. And it existed for centuries and moved to Rome, moved its headquarters to Rome. And it was eventually taken over by the Church of Rome. And that's how you got Catholicism. So what differentiates the two is the fact that the teachings of Jesus are different from how the church runs its dogma, right? It teaches its dogma because the current church is founded on situation ethics, and that's characterized by substituting human standards for the word of God.
Basically, what they're telling you is that you could never achieve that. So let's just lower the standards. It's kind of like when everybody fucks up with a test, they lower the test score. Like, okay, the highest score was a 50, so we're gonna make the 50 100. That's what they're doing. They're making it easier to obtain bullshit. That's why you were able to buy what they call Catholic Reformations, where they were buying shit. Like, so you sin 19 times, you cheated on your wife, just do 12 Hail Marys and donate this much money. That kind of shit. It was a way to get away with that. All these modern religions have bits and pieces that are true and bits and pieces that are fucked up. Like, one of the things about Catholics they do that's correct is the day that they worship on. They worship on Saturday. That's the correct day to worship. But everything else they do, some crazy shit. Other religions that worship on Sunday, Sunday's the wrong day based on what the Bible says. And a lot of this stuff people don't recognize. And you think that, well, I don't like Catholics because they do this. Bill Burr broke it down better than anybody when he said, so you just going to keep moving the priest around once he molest somebody? You know, this is the 80s. Y'all see, some of these people are younger than us. That shit with the Catholic Church started in the 80s, where they would have priests molesting kids, and they would literally just relocate them. They wouldn't fire them, wouldn't, kill them. They wouldn't, report to the police. What they would do is move them. So these priests were literally just moving all over the place in America, and they were destroying lives.
It was basically the Underground Railroad for child molesters.
No, man, that's so fucked up, but that's exactly what it was. And they would relocate them. So that this is when it hit the fan in early 90s, 91-ish, where literally these guys weren't getting arrested. What they would do is retire, which I don't understand, but priests do retire. They would just retire, get a wife, and have a normal life. And some of these victims would find these motherfuckers, like literally find them. Like, hey, I know what you did. I know who you are. You don't recognize me, do you? Oh yeah, I'm not 9 anymore, motherfucker. And they would go get these motherfuckers and beat their asses and and put them in their place. And many of them, even though they were retired, took a wife and all that other stuff, they would start molesting again. It's who they are, and so that's how they end up being found. So, and then those records got out where a lot of these news outlets would track. They would track somebody, and they're like, "Hey, this guy was moved 7 times. This guy was moved 8 times. He died at 82," and that shit was going on for years. So that's just one of the things that when you talk about evil, or you talk about the problem with the whole Catholic situation. Don't get me wrong. Yeah, you got molesters in every religion, but these motherfuckers made made a career out of it. And so, just that whole pedophile thing fucks with you, because these people were supposed to help you. I think Richard Pryor had mentioned it in his book Prior Confessions that he was molested by a priest when he was younger, and later on in life, this motherfucker comes to one of his parties. Like, hey man, you remember me? Like, nigga, what? Are you serious? So yeah, that shit runs deep.
Okay. So going back to Pope Alexander VI, one of his adversaries was a Catholic monk named Savonarola. In the late 1490s, it was Savonarola who attempted to clean up the church and do away with corruption within the church. But you're going up against the Pope, who is the guy that put the swamp there in the first place.
Yes.
So he's the king of the swamp and all the swamp people, and he's the one that creates the swamp monsters.
He's a member.
That's right. So by killing this monk named Savonarola, it eliminates any type of opposition. When they see that, oh, well, the Pope was willing to have him executed, not just like assassinated. He had him publicly executed, meaning like, look, I'm running the show. This is how we're doing it. And if you don't like it, this is what's going to happen to you.
He sent a message, and that's what people don't understand. Sometimes when people get killed, it's not about the killing. It's about the message. Letting everybody know who's in charge, what's going to happen to you.
So, okay, there was a guy named Pico della Mirandola, and he was condemned when he published a Kabbalistic thesis because he was attempting to enter Kabbalistic teachings into the Catholic Church. Now, people listening to this will wonder, well, why is that such a big deal? Because you're bringing outside dogma, you're bringing outside beliefs into something that was already founded and supposedly teaching the ways of Jesus. But it's not that this is just some benign teaching. It's occult. There's a supernatural element that goes right against the teachings of Jesus, right? And so actually what happened is he had opposition from the public. He had opposition from the higher church officials. But it was Pope Alexander VI who ruled in favor of Pico della Mirandola, and stating that the Kabbalah is suitable for study by the Catholic Church hierarchy. So what happened is that most everyday Catholics do not know this. And only Catholic scholars are aware of this because they knew even in the 1490s, the early 1500s, that the common people would not go for this. And so they actually restricted any studying of the Kabbalah to the scholars and the hierarchy of the Catholic Church.
And what it is when it comes to these kind of situations, there were a lot of times where things were set. We know about the Council of Nicaea.
What it's saying is that there is a secret society within the church, and that they are trading information with other secret societies and other occult groups. And they kept it amongst themselves because they wanted to keep control and stay in power.
Well, okay, well, hold on. That's true, but there's other going further back. We all know about the Council of Nicaea. That's when they sat down and talked about these things. People don't
Okay,
understand
but
that.
when was that though? Do you remember when that was?
Ah,
Go ahead and look it
it
up
was
while
seven.
go ahead and look
I
it up
think.
while I get into something. See, the reason why the Council of Nicaea is important because the Council of Nicaea happened at a time when the Church of Jesus still existed in Rome. It still existed in Italy.
See, but that's when they had the discussions. They literally talked about what Jesus looks like. See, that's a big argument for Muslims. You can't do graven images. Well, at the Council of Nicaea, they said, "Well, Jesus is a real person. We can paint pictures of him." And they talk. They all the things that we do now was argued there. It's the similar situation they got in Judaism is the Talmud. So you always hear these Jews because first things first, they always talk shit. Then all of a sudden you say, "Hey, you're not a real Jew, you're a convert." Well, that's true, but then they talk about the Talmud, and that's their big thing. The Talmud were basically arguments they had about the Torah and what meant this, and so
It's a book of arguments. It's why all these Jewish people today are so good at practicing law because it's in their
maybe yes,
heritage.
yes, it's in there, dude. So the reason I bring that up is that because most of us we just talk about the Bible, not realizing that there were other people that sat here and argued what goes in, what goes out, what books are in, what books are out, and that stuff that took place. And so so whenever they want to hit you with, well, in the Talmud we learned this, or they hit you with the Council of Nicaea, this happened, and the 1 month area. If you it's crazy because white people say Aryan, but you do realize Arius was a monk who was about the truth. Like, hey, this is the real Jesus right here, and the motherfuckers that Council of Nicaea try to kill this nigga because like, look,
Yeah, I believe the
in
Council of
Arius,
Nicaea happened 91 years after Jesus died.
uh, um, that's another thing. There are other churches, like the Copts. They started worshiping at like literally 23 A.D., 32 A.D. That's
As
when
in the
that church.
Coptic, Coptic.
Yeah, those are the Egyptian. That's an Egyptian church that are true Christians. I don't want to say true Christians. Christians. You have the Ethiopian church. The church they worship is 32 AD. So there are other churches out there that are Christian churches, and that's why whenever they find these new books of the Bible, there's always in Ethiopia because those churches have been around just as long as the Catholic Church. But it's just the fact that the Catholic Church they were good at that money thing. They were good at what's the word I'm looking for?
Usury.
Media, media, usury. Yes, they were able to. And who's that damn? It's not Nero. Constantine. Constantine is their champion. They love to talk about Constantine. He was look. That motherfucker did not get baptized till he was on his deathbed. That motherfucker was a fucking pagan.
That's right. That's right. Which is why I brought this up because what happened is you had the Church of Christ operating in Italy and throughout the Middle East, and its influence was strong. But they wanted to control this messianic legacy, and so they modified different things about Christianity, and they folded it together with the beliefs of pagans. Now, Constantine said he did this to unite Rome, and he did this to unite, the kingdom. But
Yep.
when you look at these things that have been folded into Christianity, it's some pagan stuff, Um,
All over the place.
mm-hmm.
Not just yeah.
I mean, everything from the birth date of Jesus, all that has been changed. And so what they've done is they placed the birth date of Jesus now in April, right? I'm sorry, in December. And then they have the rebirth, the rising of Jesus in April, and to coincide with Easter, which is a fertility pagan holiday. So, which is close enough to the maypole, which is a penile, dick celebration.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. What's it called? The maypole or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
When they go around the motherfucker, yeah.
Yeah, that's a penis.
All those are dick holidays. The obelisk in Washington is a dick symbol.
Yep.
You're staring at it like, oh man, pretty majestic. You're damn right.
Right,
But
and then when you got a big old veiny boner, You look at it the same way, like, yeah, man, that's my majestic dick. You know what I'm saying? The same thing.
But see, also, even when they talk about the resurrection of Christ, they were talking about a lot of that stuff had symbolism when it comes to sex. A lot of those are sexual ceremonies, and you don't realize it. The thing is that the Catholic Church is based on a lot of old Egyptian, old pagan stuff, and they threw it together and they picked and choose which part they liked, and they're like, okay, you know what?
But
Just in
this
case
is
it's not
after
real.
they took over the Church of Jesus because they wanted the influence that the Church of Jesus had on people.
Well, slow down. We're missing a part. Just like any other movement, it started with the poor enslaved people. In this case, these politicians recognized it. Constantine recognized that there was a
Yes,
coming,
but you
and
have to
so
also understand, though, that the Roman Empire was so messy with all the different pagan gods around that time before the Council of Nicaea. He wanted to amalgamate them all into one. And so he wanted to basically listen, there's a lot of useless nonsense and all this superstition these people are believing in. There was probably 150 different pagan gods in the Roman Empire at that time. They're like, hey, we're
but those
gonna
are rich folks, though.
we're gonna
You
we're
got to
gonna
remember.
clean this up.
Yeah, rich folks picked and choose. Like, okay, I want to be a moon goddess. Nah, they got like this, and so those rich folks was doing that. But he recognized the poor people, the slaves. Hey, man, they got their own shit, and they outnumber. Excuse me, they outnumber us. So that's why I said he took on that religion. Like, hey, this is going to be in. And you saw it later on. He declared that the religion of the state. Like, hey, this is the official religion, and I'm a Christian too. Now, I didn't get baptized until I done fucked all these women. I done fucked all these little boys and shit. And now all of a sudden I'm about to die. I'm on my deathbed. Before you give me the last rites, baptize me. And then
But
that
see,
just
here's the
shows.
thing though. Indigenous cultures would do the same thing later on when they would get captured and enslaved. They
Yep.
would take their deities and hide them in plain sight within the Roman Catholic Church.
But you got to remember when you take over an area, you kill their god. You take over their god too.
Well,
And
not
so
just that, because they will go into an area that was a temple. They will knock down the temple and build a church on the same structure site that temple
hold it.
was on, because there are ley lines there and there's sacred energy there and there's sacred spaces and geometry that's related to that.
Well, some people are just lazy too. But the fact is, you will see just look in the Holy Land. You will see churches and mosques built on top of each other, and this is not a joke.
Because
So
they're saying we're not giving you an option.
yeah,
This is
but
where you will worship.
so when you go over to Israel and they find all these, they've literally built 3 or 4 times because the Holy Land has been taken over. This, that, and other, Mecca, whatever. Israel, but you'll find literally on top of you at the very bottom, that's where they find these real like, hey man, this really was a manger. And they're saying this might have been the birthplace of Christ because there's a manger, then there's a church, then there's a mosque, then there's a church, then there's a mosque, then and so then there's a synagogue. Like literally, so like my brother's telling you, sometimes they build them there because there's energy, there's special sacred stuff there. Other times it's just the fact that they want to dominate the old culture. So sometimes it's because these people recognize some magic shit, some important shit, or sometimes it's just they're like, okay, we're gonna dominate these motherfuckers we just took over. So, but you see that throughout. There's layers to these religions. There's layers to these holidays. There's layers to these these different things, and you realize, okay, this was placed on top of this. This was placed on top of that. One of the deep things you said a while back, Roscoe, when you were saying Hebrews were Saturn worship, Muslims were moon worship, Christians were sun worship, and you were breaking down the history of many of these religions, and so that's why these holidays exist the way they do. It's not because it's because that
Because of
there
the
is a
planetary bodies or the heavenly bodies that they worship, that is
yes.
their pole
They
star, or it's
they, they, they kept
their
they
compass.
they kept some of their past practices. And look, I remember in college, one of my homeboys, well, he was a dork. He wasn't even one of my homeboys, but his dad was in the Air Force. He's a nerd, but his dad was like cool. And his dad was a 32nd degree Mason. And he told him something that we had read a long time ago, I think in Behold the Pale Horse. He said, man, every other 32nd and 33rd, one worships the devil, one worships God. Basically, they were hedging their bets. They're like, look, whoever wins this battle, we're gonna be there no matter what. And he was talking about that because he said his dad broke it down to him. I'm like, that's some petty ass, immature shit. But that just shows you that a lot of these people are the same way. Even though, yeah, we're Christians. Yeah, this is how I make my money. But just in case this pagan god exists, I'm going to keep this ceremony. I'm going to keep this holiday. And that's why when you hear these crazy people and these holidays are all pagan, a lot of them are. A lot of them are their power structure making sure that like whoever wins this ethereal battle, hey man, I kind of worship you a little bit, and that's the crazy shit. That's what that shit is based on.
All right, so a man named Johannes Reuchlin taught a version of Catholicism that was Kabbalistic Catholicism. He taught that the devil was a morally neutral creature. He was a scholar of Greek and Hebrew, whose work also took him to modern-day Austria, Switzerland, Italy, and France. Now, listen to what I just said. This guy was a scholar of Greek and Hebrew. That means he could read ancient dead languages. That means he came across scrolls and ancient books. And he was in the area of Austria and Switzerland. Now, Switzerland, the area that the Khazarians passed through on their way to Russia. You hear what I'm saying to you? Now, I saw this recent video that you sent me. It talked about if the devil was on earth and he was in a particular place, it would be in that area.
That's some deep shit, huh? It gave me goosebumps. Like, I'm not saying it.
Come on now. Right. Come on, man.
I'm not saying it's true or not, but there's certain times when...
Where was that tunnel last year that they had the ceremony?
Hey, hold up. Don't forget the CERN collider. I sent you one about that too.
Come on, man. Where was it? Hold on. Let me make my point. Where was the tunnel? There was this pagan ceremony.
It wasn't. It was
in Switzerland. It's where Switzerland touches Italy. The same area that this guy Johannes Reuchlin was teaching Kabbalistic Catholicism.
Look.
Wait. Hold on. I gotta say this shit because this guy is in this area hundreds and hundreds of years ago, maybe 600 years ago now. This guy was in this area teaching these things. Okay, in this area that this group of people that would hide in religious groups. Okay. And they traced their lineage all the way back to that entering Babylon on that southern side. And that's how they got into the power structure of Babylon. But listen, the teachings of Johannes Reuchlin was an inspiration for Eliphas Levi. In 1861, printed on his first book, was the image of Baphomet. This was the first widely printed image of Baphomet anybody had ever seen. In 1861, this guy's book, it was called Transcendental Magic, Its Doctrine and Ritual. Levi and his teachings were protected by the Catholic Church due to the curiosity of Pope Pius IX. Come on, man. So, the Borgias had set the standard for corruption within the Catholic Church that continued all the way through Pope Pius IX. So when this cat Levi in 1861, 400 some years later, this dude comes out with his book with an image of this demonic creature, the devil, Baphomet, right? The goat, the Baphomet image of a horned goat that has a woman's breasts and a man's genitals. Okay? And they're saying that, the devil is morally neutral. Listen, man, that motherfucker is the greatest liar ever was. And he will always tell you yes.
having those both genitals, having both breasts, and what they're trying to
Doing
do.
whatever it takes to get you to say, yes, I can appease you in any kind of way.
Wait, look. These aren't stories. How do I say this outside? Look, you learn that when these people began trying to make these religions, they went into different areas, and you see. So let's talk about Switzerland. Always neutral, always neutral. That's what you're talking about. A morally neutral. That the devil's morally neutral. That Switzerland is always neutral. They don't enter any war. They have an army. They have a standing army, but we don't fight. That's because that's how that teaching was that went up in there 300-400 years ago. So you start recognizing that these people had these crazy influences. These people who made their own religions influenced people, and that shit to this day is still a factor. Um,
Listen,
when you talk,
check it out, man. Okay. This shit got so out of control in Venice that the Pope had to outlaw sodomy because the pedophilia was out of control in the city of Venice. That gambling, the rates of usury, and sodomy in the form of pedophilia was so out of control that the Pope at the time had to outlaw it.
but don't forget, Greeks and Romans had a history of that shit.
Correct.
People don't want to talk about that. But
Look,
you got
Pope Clement VII was called a sodomite bastard. Listen, Kabbalistic practices were beginning to infiltrate the Catholic Church around the time that the Pope Alexander VI was the ruling pope. But it was Pope Leo X that protected the banks and allowed usury in 1515, and it became common practice. And compound interest then took hold in the Western world.
Okay, people. Here's another thing. That title Pope. There's one Pope now, but you do realize back in the past there were multiple popes. It was a title, and what happened as these areas started to come together, and become one area, they started eliminating popes, and so then the title became. And even to this day, there's supposed to be a black pope and a white pope. The white pope is the one we see. The black pope is the one that we don't see. But even back in the day, there were multiple popes. There's 2 or 3 black popes, and people don't understand that title, the power it has now, is not what it had in the past. You know what I'm saying? So we get confused on how things look now, the same way we get confused about how Egypt is now. Arabs live in Egypt now, but they were invaders. Those antiquities were there when they got there. So when you have Aziz Ozar, whatever his name, talking about like he knows, they don't know shit. Those Arabs took over the teachings of the Greeks and the Romans, and they that's what they read. So they don't know anything about Egypt other than what's physically there, and they do little experiments every once in a while and see you could have cut. They're full of shit. So, but that's how it is now. We think because how the Pope, the title, and how it is now is how it was in the past. It wasn't. That's why people were arguing with the Pope and fighting with the Pope, and the Pope had to kill somebody. And Friday the 13th, the whole Knights Templar. Remember, they killed 2 or 3 popes until he got the Pope that was favorable. The King of France was King Philip until he got the Pope he wanted in place, and then that Pope gave him permission to fuck with the Knights Templar on Friday the 13th. So, like I said, this whole idea how it is now is not how it was in the past.
Okay, so on a recent show, we talked about Sabbatean Frankism and how that dark level or component of Kabbalah of the Kabbalah was actually the foundational dogma for a lot of these for this group of people that would change their actual religion on their public face depending on which country that they were in. Who does that sound like? Those are the Khazarians, okay? But the Ein Sof was the foundational principle of Sabbatean Frankism, okay? So, but Ein Sof is so basically the Zohar, the Hebrew book, explains the term Ein Sof in this way. Before God before he gave any shape to the world, before he produced any form, he was alone, without form, without resemblance to anything else. Who then can comprehend how he was before the creation? Hence, it is forbidden to lend him any form or similitude, or even to call him by his sacred name, or to indicate him by a single letter or a single point. But after he created the form of the heavenly man, he used him as a chariot wherein to descend, and he wishes to be called after his form, which is the sacred name Yahweh. So, this is related to endless, the term or the idea of infinite, endless power. Now, this concept, Ein Sof, is being used by these people that practice the dark arts and happen to be Jewish, but they do not worship in the ways that normal Jews do. These people practice the dark arts, and they use this religion to gain power and influence and hide in plain sight amongst other Jews, which is why so many Jews get a bad rap, because of these rat fink motherfuckers are actually doing all the dirt.
Hey, look, you remember that children's book I had that talked about that? I have a children's book. I bought it for my granddaughter, did not give it to her. So when you read the foreword, it breaks down the curse of blood among the Eastern European Jews. And what it explains is that the Jews had to create a golem to protect them, because people believe that the Jews were killing Gentile children to make cookies. And I'm like, what the fuck? This is in a kid's book. And so, and we still to this day, we heard that, remember Rabbi Leibowitz, you heard them talk about, like, literally that is a practice among old Jews, that they would kill kill Gentile children and eat them. Now, those are not the Jews of the Bible that we know. Those are the Khazars. These are the motherfuckers that pretend to be Jews. And that's why this book was Eastern European. And so a lot of people believe that, and that's why they would attack Jews. It's not because they were attacking them because of their religious belief.
But here's the question, though. Why are these people doing it? What's the motivation? It's Ein
Goes
Sof.
back to what you said before about
Ein Sof is related to Watcher cults. It is the church of fallen angels. Now, what's crazy is that you see more and more of these Watcher cults as time goes on. But what the problem is that this evil has many different forms, and it gets hidden under different umbrellas when actuality is something else. So these Watcher cults, these people who are willing to suppress humanity, to dominate humanity, to mark people, to track and control people, to put chips inside of people, to make sure you have this passport so you can travel, because we need to know where you are at all times. This method of control goes back to these people that worship fallen angels. Why? Why do these people want to do this? Because these fucking fallen angels hate humanity. They are jealous of mankind. They are still butthurt about the fact that God loves us more than he loves them.
You left out the most important part. We have a soul. They don't have a soul.
Which is why it shows we are beautiful in his eyes, because we have a soul and they don't. These soulless fallen angels have a cult of followers. They're henchmen, and their army is deep. What do?
Look.
They do things like sacrifice children. They whisper in the ears of weak men and have them harm children. You don't need women. You can just have sex in the butt and you can still get the same orgasm.
Look, oh my God, you asshole! I hate when you say it. Look. The whole thing is that we don't understand the value of our own souls. We don't get it. And the thing that we talk about in the black church that white folks don't really hearken on is that when Lucifer fell, he took a third with him. He did not take them; they willingly went. That means they agreed with his doctrine, whatever it was. Like we don't have a soul. Why? What? Why do you care about these Earth people? Why do you care about these more than us? Why did you spend time giving them a soul? And they're talking about Yahweh. They're talking about why did you elevate these people above us? And when these angels left, they have all kinds of powers, and you see this stuff when you read these books, and when you see these different animals, and you see you see the giants, and they talk about the Nephilim and all these different things. That's some crazy shit. These angels were fucking everybody and everything. They weren't just fucking people. They were fucking animals. That's why you have all these hybrids, and that's why many of these things that you see that you think are like the Minotaur. You think that's a joke? You think that's some mythological shit. If these fallen angels were doing what they say they were doing, that might have been a real thing. Even when they talk about the cherubim, the angel that has the four faces, it has a face of a lion, a face of a bull, a face of that might be the reason. So yeah, it's just some crazy shit. When you actually read what an angel looks like, it will fuck with you.
Right. But in the Torah, it talks about the watchers of Eden, the watchers outside the garden.
That was their job.
That was their job, right? These people, these weak people that don't believe in a soul. Who's putting that in your head? Who's encouraging you to think this?
Look.
Listen, hold on. That's a hustle. For somebody to make you think, yo, listen, you got money in the bank, but I'm gonna whisper some shit in your ear and make you think you don't have
There's
that
more
money in the
out there.
bank.
It don't matter.
No. That money you have in the bank is worthless. So just give it to me. Just give it to me.
Look, okay. Here's what y'all need to understand. How do I say it? Okay. So you have Yahweh, Elohim, whatever you want to call him. And because you can't see him, because your faith is not strong, because you look, I need to see God. For me to believe, I'm agnostic. I want to see him. But what if that doesn't happen? But you have these watchers right here who are very powerful compared to you, but minuscule compared to Elohim, minuscule compared to Yahweh. So, but you got these watchers who you can see. And so it's much easier for you to listen to them because they're right here in your face. But the whole Elohim thing is based on faith. God is based on faith. I don't have to see God to understand that God has blessed me. So, but these little people, they see this giant motherfucker, or they see this naked motherfucker with a big dick, and he's throwing around lions and shit, and he has gold as part of his. Because remember, Lucifer was beautiful. See, y'all forget when in the black church they tell you Lucifer was the most beautiful of all angels. So you got this beautiful motherfucker talking to you, telling you like, "Hey, nigga, you want to be in my clique? Cuz come on." And so because I've never seen God, but I see this nigga right here, pretty powerful. He must be God. That right there is people not having faith. I don't use the word believe. That's not having faith.
Or not being in tune with your own spirit, with your own soul, to know evil when you see it. And that's how you're tricked. You're tricked into thinking you don't have a soul, and you got all these Negroes walking around. I don't know if God is real. Will you shut the fuck up with that stupid shit tomorrow? I don't know if God is real. Man, please. You got all these examples all around you showing you the existence of God. Every day, every moment. The problem.
Go ahead. I was going to say, how many times do we see these same symbols over and over? They look in space. They see the spiral. They look at conch shells. They look at our DNA. And
the hair growing out of your head. Your thumbprint.
Yes, you see this symbol all over the place. That's your connection to God, because you should recognize, okay, that symbolism wouldn't appear over and over. Then they hit you with the shit like, well, that's intelligent design. Well, who the fuck is the intelligence?
Listen, this is the thing. And people wonder, well, why didn't he just make himself known? Because if it was easy, if it was simple, if there was no work for you, then you wouldn't grow. And
he makes himself known every day, though. That's the whole thing. Is that
listen to those of you who have children out there? If you gave your kids everything and you never made them work for anything,
spoil them. They're
what
garbage.
would that child be like?
That's the world we live in now. We have a generation of spoiled people who are ascending to being in charge. And once those spoiled people get in charge, they're going to fuck the world up and bring it to rot. So that's what's important. Elohim knows this, and he knows that if I give you everything off the bat, all you're going to do is ruin what I've created. So as you earn and you see and you understand, then you completely different. You value what I've given you instead of valuing what you make on your own. See, that's the problem. Like when we don't realize how many times these scientists and these heads of state they're playing God. No, they really do want to be God. All you hear about is them. Well, we grew our heart inside of a pig and we put it inside of a person. What the fuck? What you're doing is imitating God because they call that healthcare, like we're saving lives. How about if you didn't give me poison to begin with, my heart wouldn't be broken? You know what I'm saying? Like literally, if we were eating natural foods, not hybrid, if we weren't eating shit in a package, we would be fine in the first place. You wouldn't have all this heart disease.
If these watchers continue to give their faithful this fallen angel technology in a watered-down fashion, then they will keep doing the things that these fallen angels tell them to do to keep suppressing us. And you know what, man? I'm going to tell you something. When I run across people nowadays and they tell me, oh, I don't know, I mean, this virus a real thing? Or I don't know, I mean, is the government really like doing things against us? I don't know, is the devil really real? I mean, these people these pedophiles that are going after these kids, I mean, they're just regular people that don't belong to a group. You know what? Hey, listen, man, listen. After the past 2 years, if you can't figure shit out by now, I have nothing else to say to you. I'm not fucking with you no more. I'm not wasting my energy anymore on people that are this damn dumb, that you are this blind after all this time, and you're an adult, and you cannot see the hustle is on, the fix is in. Dude, you're lost.
Hold it, Roscoe. Some of that shit is not what you think it is. Some of these people are they're not as petty as you think they are. What it is that they want to be fuckers. They want to be players. They want to be able to, at some point in time.
Not even that. I'm not even talking about those people. I'm talking about the people that's so obtuse.
No, that's some of them are obtuse because of that reason right there. Look, how much sexual misconduct is there? Like the reason they're obtuse because they feel at one point in time, I'm going to be able to do that. Look, the problem with this disparage in money, what do these rich people do? They be fucking the poor people. Like literally, all these places where they don't have any money, they're starving. They go over there, they have sex journeys and come back, or they'll fuck around and go too far and have to kill some. It's all about excess. They're sick people. The other thing, oh man, look, here's something that I read and I saw a couple of videos about. I had to go. This is gonna blow you. They said okay, so all this technology that happened in the past, ancient Kemet,
Lemuria,
Aztec, Lemuria, all these different places was all fallen angel technology, and that those watchers were giving that information to us, and that's what happened. And then all of a sudden, God did the flood to wipe it all out. Like literally, the pyramids are fallen angel technology. I don't know if I agree or disagree, but obviously in our past we were much more advanced than we are now, and nobody wants to admit that. We're worried about VCRs and cars when these motherfuckers was teleporting, when these motherfuckers was traveling the galaxy, when these motherfuckers was doing crazy shit in the past. And it makes you wonder, like, oh, maybe this really was that watcher technology. Maybe this really was some Nephilim shit, And so then you start to realize, like, oh, that warning is there for a reason. Now, look, I have no problem with intelligence. I have no problem. But my thing is, I'm about the truth. Like I told you, the difference between Lucifer and Jesus, Lucifer was light. Jesus was a light too, but he was the truth. Like Lucifer is knowledge. That's what you hear these niggas talk all this knowledge. Hey man, it's about light, it's about knowledge. Lucifer was a morning star. Christ was the bright morning star. There's a difference. And when people don't understand that difference and they don't relate and study and realize, okay, the truth usurps everything. Y'all niggas want knowledge, I want the truth. And when y'all fuck around and get the truth, a lot of y'all can't handle it. Or when you get the truth tells you that you're living wrong. And like, damn, I gotta stop fucking like chasing little boys' buttholes. God damn it, I hate Jesus. And that's what they don't. That's what they're not up.
Listen, when Masons, when a Mason, third degree Mason, goes to get his third degree, and he's being initiated, part of the ceremony, they tell him to ask for light. They ask him, what do you want? And he says, light. That right there tells you that, oh, you're going in the wrong direction, dude. Because you're asking for light, not truth.
Yeah, you're asking for knowledge. See, the Masons call light knowledge. When the truth is, it's not the truth. I want the truth. I don't want knowledge. I don't want a book. I don't want something that was written all these years ago just to agree with me. I need something to tell me the truth so I can make my. This is the same problem we're dealing with right now when it comes to this virus. Give me the truth and let me decide on my own. No, but when you do this knowledge thing, when you have this false science, when you have fake vaccines,
right? Or you have fallen angel technology creating tiny robots to put inside your blood so they can control you. But check it out. But check this out.
This is a real battle.
I gotta say something. So there's cultural references to the Watchers, okay,
and all throughout this shit,
all around you actually, and I mean, going back to like PlayStation 2, there was a game called Drakengard. All right, it was some pretty dorky stuff, so that's why a lot of people may not remember it. But in this game, there is the cult of the Watchers, also known as the Church of Angels. And they're a mysterious group that worships entities they refer to as the Watchers. The cult was formed after the death of the Intoners in 1000 AD. Also, there's a TV show on Netflix right now, started a couple months ago, called The Watcher. It includes child sacrifice, cults, and adrenochrome. This couple moved into this neighborhood, this really nice neighborhood, they got a nice house, and they started getting these weird notes from this cult in the neighborhood, right? Now, what I find strange is the lady who's the Watcher is Mia Farrow. Mia Farrow was married to Woody Allen. Woody Allen, on some pedo shit, married his stepdaughter,
who was adopted.
Do y'all see the correlations here? Yo, Watcher cults are real, dude.
Hold it. Back to what we were saying about, let's talk about this virus. It's 2 years later, so I got to be careful because I don't want us to get blacklisted.
Just keep it toned down. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, hold it. First things first. Me and my nigga ain't scared of a motherfucker. That's not what we're saying. What it is that all it takes is one missed quote and you out of here. What I'm saying, what I want to talk about is the light and the truth. If light is knowledge, then they bombard you with knowledge. That's how they weaken your resolve. They hit you with, oh, this is in a book, or they hit you with, hey man, they got surveys. They hit you with, hey, Bill Gates is an expert. He's not an expert on health, and he's damn sure not an expert on viruses, or he wouldn't even have a virus on his. He introduces a virus on his own operating system. What he has is a marketing plan, and that he puts out for the world to use, and he makes a shitload of money. So what it happens is that they hit you with all this knowledge and this information. They bombard you with commercials and pamphlets, and then you go to see your own doctor, somebody you've known for 10 years, and he's like, well, you need to get this and you need to get that. That's knowledge. Now here's the truth. The truth is that, hey, this shit was made someplace else. The truth is it was released not on accident. The truth is we spent money to fund it. The truth is this caused a lot of people to get sick and even some to die because we didn't have the proper information.
All because people like Klaus, people like Bill, who worship the fallen ones, they want more and more of this technology. They want more of this fallen. And look, they give it to them in morphine drips. Here's some more. Here's a little bit. Here's a little bit. And they get these little breadcrumbs, and they're lying to you, whispering in your ear, making you think that you don't have a soul. And the person so motivated behind this, right, is a person or is a creature that doesn't have one. So it's like, listen, if you want to be like me, if you want to be powerful, if you want all this knowledge, do what I do. Be like me. What does that sound like, man? That sounds like a dope dealer. That sounds like a person doing some MLM marketing, multi-level marketing. All right.
Look. This is where it gets deep. You could have. There are people who have more than you, but are still jealous of you. These fallen.
Oh, say that again.
They have more power than you, but they're still jealous of you, and you don't understand that shit. And like I said, we have a friend who had the perfect life, but he's a dork. Great parents, good family, everything, but he's still jealous of me. And I'm like, I didn't get it. And once I got it, then I understood his behavior and his motivation. Somebody can have more than you, and still be jealous of you. And until you understand that, because now you're aspiring to get what they got. Like, hey, this motherfucker has power. This motherfucker got bitches. This motherfucker got cars and all this. I want that. Not realizing they don't have a soul, and that what you have is more powerful and it has more currency than what they
But where
got.
do we hear this though? Where do we hear this all the time? That all these rich people get all this money and they're still not happy because they've got the wrong foundation.
Hold it. So hold it. Some of that shit is not true. What some of that shit is the truth is that nobody wants to admit that these motherfuckers got rich because somebody made them rich and they had nothing to do with their own success. You see that shit when it comes to these actors and actresses. Somebody else picked you, nigga. Now all of a sudden you realize that your victory is hollow. Now you feel like shit. Now you like you got somebody like want to commit suicide because they're like, oh damn, I'm not in charge. Damn, I can't speak out against Balenciaga. Damn, I can't say this. I can't do that. I belong to somebody. That's why these niggas be killing themselves, because when the reality hits that they're truly not in charge, and that when these motherfuckers, hey, I want to speak out about Black Lives Matter. I want to speak out about. Oh, I can't. Why not? You're gonna take all my money. Look, I hate Kanye, but that's an example. How do you go from 2.7 billion to 500 million? They froze your assets. And so when you start realizing they can do that to somebody, then all of a sudden they start changing their behavior because they're addicted to that lifestyle more than they're addicted to life. Being addicted to a lifestyle is not life. You don't know the difference, and people can't distinguish the two things. And it becomes clouded when this becomes you. You think this is you. Nah, my nigga, you were not successful because of yourself. You were successful because of these watcher motherfuckers. They bestowed power upon you, what you thought was real power. The fact of the matter is, my soul is what these motherfuckers up there are battling over, and they don't have one, and so they collect them. That's all it is. Lucifer is collecting souls because he doesn't have one of his own. That's like these niggas that collect women. Like, yeah, I'm hollow on the inside. I don't like myself, but so I just have sex with a lot of women so I can feel something, and I'm destroying their lives. I'm getting them pregnant, but I'm making the world a worse place. Watch that. See that? You see that analogy? Well, that's Lucifer right there. That's what the nigga wants. He wants what you got because he ain't got one.
But the hustle continues, and people are still hustle all the time. Dude, listen, man, I got to tell you, in my day-to-day, when I hear a person speak about God, I'm always surprised. Now listen,
that's crazy because back in the day, it was
it was common. It was common. It was common. But now it's a surprise when somebody talks about, like, yo, you talking about God. That's what's up. You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel you. You know what I mean? Like, amen. You know what I mean?
A couple years back, me and you had talked about this when we first started doing the podcast. There was a movie that came out that was a complete religious movie. The guy was in World War II, almost died. He fought his way back, swam across the Atlantic, whatever. And it was all about his faith. The guy tells the story himself, but in the movie, they went a completely different way with it. Like, they had a church, but it was no religion involved. It was just so crazy how they avoided that. How do you make a movie about God and you leave God out?
Let me ask you a question. Do you say grace when you eat dinner?
Yeah.
Okay. With your family, when y'all go out to eat somewhere?
Yeah.
Do you make sure when you say grace that all those children participate?
Okay. Sometimes I don't. Sometimes I just bow my head and say it.
No. See, you fucking up. I'm your brother. I can tell you fucking up. Make those kids bow their heads. I don't give a shit. I don't give a shit how old they are. Make those kids bow their heads, because listen, man, it's important you do that because you're making them remember what world we're in.
Look, I had a homeboy in college. We still homeboys to this day, and he's like, "Hey, you don't know what the motherfuckers in the back are into."
Oh, that's crazy.
He was not talking about just germs and filth. He was talking about curses and spells. He's like, you don't know what yeah, my nigga, yeah. You do not know what the motherfuckers in the back are into, and that's when I'm like, This nigga is because like I said, we close and we still talk to this day.
But
And I'm like,
but here's the thing though, like how many cats do we know that like whenever we start talking about God, they'll be like, yeah, and they shy away from being direct about it.
okay.
Listen.
Are you talking
Listen.
about,
I'm not talking about my Muslim homeboys. I'm
no,
not
no,
talking
no,
about
no.
my Jewish friends. I'm not talking about none of that shit. I'm talking about people that you talk to, and and they always like go like, yeah, whatever it is. And I'm like, no, dude, it's not whatever it is.
Hold it. This is the crazy part. I don't hear that anymore. Think about this. The niggas that if somebody's your age, if they're in their mid 40s, late 40s, and you talk about God, they don't even trip. I don't have that anymore. It used to be like if you were talking, hey man, don't miss me with that. Nah, you don't get
No,
that.
I was working with a cat 3 years ago, and we had to have this conversation.
Was it at work or was it
This
at
was at
lunch?
work, and he was like, I don't know. I was like, there's no way. I'm like, you got a
There's no way.
child? He's like, yeah. It's like, so you think that's just some biological thing that just happened? That that
Hey,
that 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 biological like mechanisms are the only thing animating your beautiful child?
look, hold it. Take it for somebody. My wife has had a couple miscarriages. Take it for somebody who wants to have a child. It takes so many things to go right for one life to
Woo.
start. Life is fragile, my nigga. And here's the other part. Like, I be joking about shit, but how many times like people have choked and died, or like, man, I was one time. You ever pick your nose and get this little booger? I can breathe now. How does this little booger stop me from breathing? That life is fragile. It doesn't take much for life to stop. It doesn't take much for a motherfucker to choke.
Also, those people don't know how to be quiet. Those people don't know how to
They can't
still
hear.
their minds. No, listen. They always got to keep. They always got to keep going. You know what I'm saying? I do. I remember because we were working together and we were in New Jersey, and we had to share a hotel room together. And I'm laying on my bed and I'm relaxing, and this motherfucker is just drinking, getting turned up, and we still talking and shit. He reminded me of like a little kid that had all this energy and he didn't know what to do. I was like, bro, like we got a long mission tomorrow. Like we got a big job ahead of us tomorrow. Like I'm gonna fucking just chill out and
That's
relax.
discipline. But see, but that's a non-disciplined person. That's a person who the objective doesn't matter as much as them. With me, my objective is like, look, if I got to get up, like you know me to say, look, I got a meeting tomorrow, dude. I got a meeting all day because I got to go, and I got to prepare myself mentally. Sometimes it's not just getting your notes ready for the meeting, not gathering your material. You got to gather your mental material. You got to like, okay, I got to open my mind to receive this. I
Gather
got
your
to,
faculties.
yeah. And these people can't do that because they don't know that it's a thing. You can't do something you don't know about, and they haven't learned that
But then
yet.
a lot of these
It,
people, okay, for example, a lot of these people rely on nicotine and alcohol to function.
yes, yes.
You know what I'm saying? So it's just like, okay, so when you come home, you got to sip all the time. You know what I'm saying? You got to smoke all the time. Like you going out and on a smoke break all the time, dude.
Okay,
Like,
I had
hold
this
on, like,
conversation.
what is that doing for you? Like, can you not just calm down, like, without that shit?
Look. No. I had this conversation yesterday with a real close friend, and you know him, you met him. He's like, look, he said, I'm not an alcoholic. I do like to drink. He said, I enjoy the act of drinking, and he said sometimes I drink to excess. I don't have a problem with that, but he's like, look, I can put it down, and he does. Me and him went months without drinking, but he's like, I actually enjoy that act, and so I'm like, I had the same conversation with somebody
Now,
else
is
who
he saying
knows.
socially or aesthetically?
No. He's at home by himself.
Yeah, that's
He,
that's the aesthetic.
yeah. No. He's. I physically like it. I enjoy it. Brings
Yeah,
me peace. I'm like,
it's a ceremony.
it's him. But on the flip side, when another individual that said the same thing to me, like, and then he accused me of not having an addictive personality. And the guy I'm talking about, the white guy I'm talking about, he's like, he said I had told him the story. He said, when you told me that story, he said, I knew what you meant. And people have said the same thing about me. I don't have an addictive personality. You don't know what it's like. Um, the color guy, he said that I don't know what it's like to be him.
Did you say
I,
colored?
yeah, the color guy, the guy with the last name is the color,
Okay.
and he's told me that I don't know what it's like to have the battle that he has because I don't have an addictive personality. Knowing that my father's an alcoholic, knowing that I have Native American blood in me, knowing that that is there and I don't go to it. And he basically said that I don't get his struggle. I'm like, I'm not trying to get your struggle. That I don't care about your struggle. I just need you to stop doing stupid shit. But the point I'm making is that these are two people who are doing the exact same thing for different reasons. One has a physical addiction and a mental addiction and a reason to have an excuse not to be successful. The other one, hey, I like the activity, but it will never get in the way of my success. So you have two people doing the exact same act but having different results. And so that's what is really important when you look at these different deities or religions or dogmas or whatever the fuck you want to call these things. If you understand that you have a soul and you understand that, then you behave differently. When black folks understand their history, then we're not out here drinking and womanizing, doing this crazy. Like, hey, I get it. I had a hoe phase. I went through my hoe phase. At that point in time, is that you have that you want pussy, you want women, you want to have sex, you want the conquest. It's fun. It's this. It's that. But at some point in time, when you hit the mature button gets pushed, and you're like, hey, I still enjoy those activities.
That's why it's good to have hobbies, man. That's why it's good to have things that you can focus your energy into.
Okay, but here's what my wife is on my case right now, because she's like, you don't enjoy anything anymore. We go on vacation and you answer that phone and I'm like, I don't know what I said. Truly, I don't know what I like anymore. I've become so engrossed in so many things that I got to sit down and figure. That's why you notice when I go fishing, I don't fuck y'all. I don't answer shit. When I'm on the bank and I'm.
But see, willpower plays into it also. I'll give you an example.
Willpower goes both ways, though. You have to have willpower to be successful and do the right thing and persevere. But you also need willpower to make sure you don't lose your own identity, because you can give away your identity.
There's times where it's like I'm all about time management. Time management is really important to me because
it's hard.
But see, time management allows me to do the things I enjoy, and still have, and still give time to the other people in my life. Okay,
and still be successful. Yeah. It's a balance.
And so, for example, like I use the analogy of The Empire Strikes Back, and there's that scene where Luke is hanging upside down on the Hoth planet in that cave. He got captured by that monster, and his lightsaber is not far away from his hand, but it's out of his reach. And he reaches for it, and he used the Force to bring it to him. There's times where I don't feel like working on music, but I'll have an idea. I'll go back to that moment in The Empire Strikes Back, and I will reach for my beat machine. And before I know it, it's in my hands again. You know what I'm saying? Because at that moment, I was present. And that's what I was talking to you before the show on the phone. That be present for that moment. Reach out. Reach for it. Reach for what you want. And if what you want is a better life, then reach down to the ground and do 3 push-ups instead of reaching for that midnight snack. You know what I'm saying? And but hold on, but let me finish my point. But my whole thing, what I'm saying is that the whole reason why I use that Star Wars analogy, that Empire Strikes Back, is that reach out, stretch out with your feelings, and reach for what you truly want, what you truly need, what is truly going to benefit you. And you will. And instead of, think of it this way: don't pull it to you, pull yourself to it. Think of it like the Bob Lazar spaceship, where that spaceship, instead of flying through space, it pulls space to it. Go ahead.
Look. Hold it. There's some deep shit. So what you just talked about when you were talking about the music thing. So, at one point I was like, hey, Roscoe, I got some ideas I'm working on. And I know how my mind works. So what I literally did is that whenever I got an idea, I worked on it. I wrote a whole thing about my LLC, all this different stuff. I went to my aunt's house, did all this work, and I forgot it. Because I get like that. And so
you wrote it down, though.
No, I did it. No, I literally did things. I don't remember doing them. I remember the activity, but I didn't remember being this successful. So I went to my aunt. I have diagrams. She went ahead and worked on the shit for me, designing the holsters and all that shit. I'm like, I got that. I didn't remember getting that far. I found some notes. I found a recording because that's what I do. And literally, so sometimes when you're in that moment and you don't want to lose that idea, because the devil is all around. That motherfucker's watering down you all the time. So if you have that moment of inspiration, go ahead and make that recording. Go ahead and write that shit down. Like you said, I did write some shit down, and I found it. Like, I came up with this many names for my products and this, and different. I came up with different trademarks. But the point I'm making is like you said, don't pull the lifesaver to you. Pull yourself up. And what you do is when you do that shit, work on that shit and go ahead and walk off and work on the other stuff. But when you come back a year later, 6 months later, you won't realize how much progress you actually made. And like it's going to inspire you because when you get a beat in your head or when you get something like, hey man, I got a different song because this shit, you got to take. You will get bombarded with the bullshit of this fake life, this matrix reality where money is everything, and I never have enough. But when you're doing the shit that you love to do and the shit that you're powerful at, you're always enough because you're the inspiration. You're the beginning and the end. And what you do is eventually that shit's gonna make money for you. And if you're lucky enough to make money at it, you make enough money, you buy your land, and you say leave you the fuck alone. You got black folks, you have black ranchers in Colorado right now being harassed by their neighbors, letting his cows out. So he got cameras. Do you know these motherfuckers had a device that jammed his camera? Like he had a microwave device, and so you can't see these white folks' face on the camera. You have all kinds of crazy shit going on in Colorado right now. Shit, I was about to call some of my homeboys and go up there because at that. Look, you got black folks marching in parades right now, and the police can't stand seeing us with guns. But then you got black folks who need help. I'm thinking about making a black A-team, my nigga. I'm thinking about like, you know what? Let's go help these black people. Let's just show up and scare the shit out of these white folks because that's what's happening. Whenever black people achieve what they set out to achieve, somebody wants to pee on that shit. Somebody wants to put you back in your place. You don't define me.
All he has to do, listen, all he has to do is hire a couple of security guards to just show up and drive around in a pickup truck on his land.
Hey, go check the article first, Roscoe. When you see go see the article, watch the video, and see what these folks is doing and they got their own acres. They bought this. they're not. Your neighbors aren't close to you, but literally these people are letting out his cows.
But the fact that he's black is why he's being attacked. You think?
Yeah. Look, here's the crazy part. I thought cattle rustling, most of those laws on the books are from 200 years ago, 100 some years ago. I think you can kill somebody for cattle rustling. I'd be headshot these motherfuckers. I'd be sitting there with that 50 caliber Barrett just liquefying a nigga's skull. You understand me?
Just make it. Y'all want some soup?
like nigga, closed casket. Blah. But what I'm saying is that there are obstacles, but you need to understand that some of these obstacles are made by motherfuckers that don't have as much as you. That have more than you, but don't have what you have. Your soul is that is that commodity that people are fighting over for all over the universe. And you need to understand that Lucifer doesn't have a soul. The Marchers don't have a soul. But your black ass, your white ass, your Mexican ass, your yellow ass, whatever color your ass is, you have a soul.
Right. And the thing is do not get caught up with labels. Matter of fact, don't get caught up with labels. Oh, it's Luciferianism, it's Satanism, it's Mithraism, it's this, it's that, it's Baal worship.
That's how they get your
because ass. You worried about it's not this one, it's that one. It don't matter because it's all under the same umbrella and it's evil by any other name.
That branding is a motherfucker because they hit you with that brand like Balenciaga. Oh, it's a brand. Like, nah, nigga, it's still evil. It doesn't matter how they spoon feed it to you. If they give you little drips or if they give you a fucking meal, it's fucking evil. Don't eat from that table.
Exactly. It's evil by any other name. Do not fall for the okie doke. Look, that's all I got. We out. Peace.
The piccolo player is a motherfucker. I'll back.